Hey guys, Jules here for That Film Theory, and today I want to talk to you about Bond. James Bond, or more specifically about Pierce Brosnan's version of James Bond. Now, he basically revitalized Bond for the 90s, but during his tenure it, well, kind of went into a bit of a dull limp, didn't it? And kind of ended with a horrible CGI mess, you could call it, that was Die Another Day. However, maybe I'm being too harsh, as after watching the film again the other day, an idea began to take hold. What if this isn't a bad action film, but a brilliant film about a man's last dying moments on Earth before he passes on? What if Pierce Brosnan's Bond dies, not another day, but actually at the beginning of the film? Well, let's have a chat. If we look at the opening, we see a Bond that is badly beaten and broken at the hands of a North Korean military force. He's submerged in ice water, poisoned by scorpions, electrocuted and starved all over a 14-month period. Surely that's beyond the limits of endurance for any person, including Bond. And it kind of even suggests this in the fact that the opening theme song starts with Sigmund Freud analysed this. Now, what are we meant to be analysing, if not the fact that he has actually died? Well, let's go to the first locale and see if this carries on. Bond stands on a foggy bridge where his captor states, "We've reached the end, Mr. Bond," after which he crosses the bridge to the other side, meeting Zhao along the way. Now, the comparisons between the locale and the often used light at the end of the tunnel metaphor, you can't ignore these two. They're quite blatantly obvious if you go in with this line of thinking. So what, instead of a returning hero, we get a body delivered to MI6 which is poked and prodded on an examination table in a morgue, trying to save his life rather than the high-tech lab which pieces Bond back together than we think we're originally seeing. And we have to ask ourselves, with all of the panicking doctors and with the fake-out flatlining heart monitor, what if it's here that Bond actually dies? But not before he has one last dream. If this is true, then it serves to highlight how utterly ridiculous this film is. I mean, the other films were truly over the top, but this one, with diamond-faced villains, invisible cars, jetpacks, and ice buildings, this is easily one of the silliest Bonds out there. Yet when you think of this as nothing more than a dying dream, it suddenly becomes much more reasonable. In fact, look at it this way. The Ice Palace could be seen as the encroaching death on his heart. The betrayal of his past lovers in the form of Elektra King now make up Pike. And it's also why his brain tries to close off avenues in his mind, like the on-again, off-again flirtations with Moneypenny. That comes to a head in this film. And it also explains the villain of the piece, Gustav Graves. I mean, what a signifier of a surname, if nothing else. He's a smarmy British playboy, but to put it bluntly, he's also a mirror of Bond. Yet maybe this is a bit too complicated for Bond to deal with in this fading moment, too much to ask that he battle his own consciousness, which is why Gustav becomes Colonel Moon, literally taking off a mask that would be too challenging for Bond in these final moments and offering something much more identifiable as a Bond villain, a tyrant that needs to be stopped. That is black and white. That is something that a dying brain can latch onto, and it's how Bond chooses to close off his entire tenure with this 007 moniker as he finally dies. Because after beating the baddie and falling onto a bed of diamonds with an outgoing lass, it fades to black, Bond having completed his fantastical journey. Yet the mantle of Bond moves on with time, and it's why we get a new James Bond in 2006's Casino Royale. This James states that he understands that 00s have a very short life expectancy, which could be a clear reference to 007's previous title holder. It could also explain why M is so against any activity that reminds her of Brosnan's Bond, as it was just such actions that got him killed. The more the new James acts like the old, the more she digs her heels in. And speaking of M, we come to the biggest and final clue of them all. We know that James Bond is a code, much like Q or M, but Dame Dench plays M across two different Bonds, meaning that this isn't a reboot, but a continuation of the story, and therefore that Brosnan has indeed popped his clogs. Meaning that while Pierce Brosnan's Bond did in fact die that day, because it's a 007 lineage that carries on, it means there will always be a James Bond to die another day. And there we have it. Those are my thoughts on James Bond and his potential death. Let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. But before you go, That Film Theory is a small but growing channel, and we could use all the support that you can give us. So a like, a share, a subscribe would mean the world to me and Ash. But if you want to check out some other work that we've been doing, maybe you can go over to What Culture, where we also work, and you can check out this video that I've done on the gaming channel. As always, I've been Jules, you've been awesome, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye! Oh, P.S. I'm also still going through all of the applications that you guys have kindly sent in. I will try and get back to at least a few of you. Thank you very much. Bye.